Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Hughes Harmony and watched the stars drift past the viewing screen. 3,000 years had passed since humans last fired a weapon in anger. 3,000 years of peace across the galaxy, and Jake had never known anything else. The Harmony was not a warship. She carried no guns, no missiles, no shields meant for battle. Instead, her cargo holds were filled with gifts from Earth, music, art, stories, and seeds from 1,000 different plants. Her crew of 200 humans spent their days exploring new worlds and meeting new people among the stars. Dr. Lisa Parker walked onto the bridge carrying her daily reports. She was the ship's biologist, which meant she studied alien life forms. Her job was to learn about new species they met and help them understand humans in return. Lisa had dedicated her life to building bridges between different peoples. Any word from the council today? Jake asked as Lisa handed him her tablet. The usual peaceful reports, Lisa replied with a smile. New trade agreements between the Altarians and the vegan colonies. The Zentari are sharing their crystal growing techniques with anyone who wants to learn. Nothing but good news from across the galaxy. Lieutenant Alex Turner looked up from his communication station. Alex was young, barely 25, and he had grown up hearing stories about the old days when humans fought wars. Those stories seemed like fairy tales to him. In his world, problems were solved with words, not weapons. Captain, we're getting a message from Haven Station Omega 7, Alex reported. Commander Phillips wants to speak with you. Jake nodded and activated the communication screen. Commander Ryan Phillips appeared, his weathered face showing the calm confidence that came from decades of peaceful service. Ryan had spent his entire career overseeing Haven stations, the orbital education centers where children from dozens of different species learned together. Good morning, Jake, Ryan said. I wanted to update you on our latest arrivals. We just welcomed 50 young crystalline beings from the Andromeda sector. Fascinating little ones, they communicate through light patterns. Our human children are already learning to speak with them. Jake smiled. The Haven stations represented everything good about human civilization. Children of all species lived, learned, and played together in perfect harmony. Human kids grew up with alien friends, learning that differences were something to celebrate rather than fear. How's Emma Rodriguez settling in? Jake asked. Emma was a 16-year-old human girl who had recently arrived at the station. Her parents were diplomats working in the Outer Rim territories. She's doing wonderfully, Ryan replied. Made friends with a young Altarian named Zixar within hours of arriving. They're inseparable now, working together on a project about comparative stellar formations. It's beautiful to watch. Dr. Kate Sullivan appeared behind Ryan on the screen. Kate was the station's head researcher, studying how different species learned and grew together. Her work had helped establish education centers throughout the galaxy. The integration rates keep improving, Kate added enthusiastically. We're seeing cross-species friendships form faster than ever before. These children don't see differences the way their ancestors did. To them, having 3 arms or blue skin or scales is just normal. They're building the future we all dreamed of. Jake felt a warm pride in his chest. This was why humans had chosen peace 3,000 years ago. After centuries of war and conflict on their homeworld, they had learned that cooperation brought better results than competition. When they finally reached the stars, they carried that lesson with them. The Galactic Cooperative Council had been formed 1,200 years ago, with humans as founding members. Earth's people had become known throughout the galaxy as natural mediators and peacekeepers. Their ability to understand different viewpoints made them perfect ambassadors between species that might otherwise never get along. Any interesting discoveries in your sector? Ryan asked Jake. We're approaching a system with 7 planets, Jake replied. 3 of them show signs of plant life. Lisa thinks we might find some new species to invite into the council. The galaxy keeps getting bigger and more wonderful, Ryan said with satisfaction. Sometimes I can barely believe how far we've come. My great-grandfather used to tell stories about the old Earth wars. Humans fighting humans over scraps of land and drops of oil. Now look at us, exploring infinite space with infinite friends. Alex. Turner received an incoming signal and frowned slightly. Captain, I'm picking up something unusual on the long-range sensors. A large group of ships approaching from beyond the galactic rim. Probably another species wanting to join the council. Lisa suggested. We get new applications every month. Jake nodded, but something about Alex's expression made him pause. What kind of ships, Alex? That's the strange part, sir. They're big, really big. Bigger than anything in our databases. And they're moving in perfect military formation. A small chill ran down Jake's spine, though he couldn't say why. Nobody had moved in military formation for hundreds of years. There was no need for such tactics in a peaceful galaxy. Could be ceremonial, he said, more to reassure himself than anyone else. Some species have elaborate greeting rituals. Ryan's face on the screen showed mild concern. Jake, maybe you should head back toward Earth if these newcomers want to meet someone. They should meet the council first? Good thinking, Jake agreed. Alex, set course for Earth. Best speed. As the Harmony turned toward home, Jake couldn't shake a feeling he had never experienced before. In 3,000 years of peace, humans had forgotten what danger felt like. They had forgotten that not everyone in the universe believed in cooperation and friendship. The unknown fleet continued its approach through the darkness between stars. Aboard their massive vessels, beings who had watched the galaxy for centuries prepared for war. They had seen the mixing of species in the Haven stations. They had witnessed the peaceful cooperation of the Galactic Council, and they had decided that such mixing was an abomination that must be stopped. War Prime Nethyscall studied the intelligence reports from his scouts. The humans had become soft, he thought with satisfaction. Their ships carried no weapons. Their stations had no defenses. Their children learned alongside alien spawn as if such contamination was natural. Soon, he would teach them the price of their weakness. Soon, the galaxy would learn that peace was an illusion and only the strong deserved to survive. The alien fleet appeared at the edge of human space like a storm cloud blotting out the stars. Ambassador Peter Collins had seen many first-contact situations during his 40 years of diplomatic service, but nothing like this. The ships were massive, dark metal beasts that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. How many vessels are we looking at? Peter asked as he stood on the bridge of the Hughes Harmony, which had been hastily converted into a diplomatic vessel. Computer. Counts 237 ships, Alex Turner reported, his voice tight with tension. The smallest ones are bigger than our largest space stations. Dr. Lisa Parker studied the biological readings coming from the alien fleet. What she saw made her stomach twist with unease. Peter, these beings have been heavily modified. Their bone density is 3 times normal. Their muscle mass suggests they're built for combat. Even their brain chemistry shows elevated aggression markers. Peter nodded grimly. In 3,000 years of peaceful contact, humans had never encountered a species that seemed designed for war. Every other race they had met showed the same basic pattern, intelligent beings who had learned to cooperate for survival. These aliens were different. The lead alien ship moved forward, dwarfing the Harmony like a mountain beside a pebble. A communication channel opened, and the bridge filled with a harsh, grating voice that spoke in broken but understandable Galactic. Standard. We are the Veilfic Empire. You will identify yourselves and submit to inspection. Peter stepped forward with the calm confidence that had served him well in countless diplomatic meetings. I am Ambassador Peter Collins, representing the United Earth Government and the Galactic Cooperative Council. We welcome you to our space and offer our friendship. A pause. Then harsh laughter that made everyone on the bridge wince. Friendship. Your species speaks of weakness as if it were strength. We have observed your pathetic mixing of pure bloodlines. We have seen your abomination stations where different species contaminate each other. Lisa felt her blood run cold. They were talking about the Haven stations. The pride and joy of human civilization, reduced to an abomination in alien eyes. The communication screen flickered and a terrifying figure appeared. War Prime Nethyscal stood 7 feet tall, his body covered in chitinous armor that seemed to be part of his natural biology. 4 arms ending in clawed hands, eyes that glowed with predatory intelligence, and a mouth full of razor-sharp teeth. I am War Prime Nethyscal of the Veilfic Empire. For 800 years we have watched your disgusting experiment in species. Mixing, your children learn alongside alien spawn. Your bloodlines become tainted with foreign influence. This contamination ends now. Peter struggled to maintain his diplomatic composure. Every instinct screamed that they were facing something humanity had never encountered before, a species that viewed cooperation as contamination and peace as weakness. War Prime, I believe there has been a misunderstanding. Our educational programs benefit all species involved. Children learn faster and develop better social skills when they interact with diverse groups. Perhaps if you visited one of our stations, ENOUGH. Nethyscal's roar filled the bridge. We do not negotiate with species that pollute themselves with alien contact. You will separate your young from foreign contamination immediately. All mixed populations will be surrendered for purification. That's completely unacceptable, Peter replied firmly. Our children are not property to be traded. The Haven stations operate under Galactic Council protection. Nethyscal's 4 eyes narrowed to glowing slits. Your council is a joke. Weak. Species hiding behind talk and treaties. We have studied your military capabilities. You have none. Your ships carry no weapons. Your stations have no defenses. You have forgotten what power truly means. The alien fleet began moving, spreading out in attack formation. On Haven Station Omega 7, Commander Ryan Phillips received an urgent warning from his sensors operator. Sir, 30 alien vessels are approaching. They're not responding to our hails and they're moving into attack positions. Ryan activated the emergency communication system. All stations, this is Commander Phillips. We have a hostile contact situation. Begin emergency evacuation procedures immediately. Throughout the station, evacuation alarms began sounding. Dr. Kate Sullivan rushed through the corridors, helping to move the youngest children toward the escape pods. Human and alien children alike looked confused and frightened as their peaceful world suddenly turned chaotic. Emma Rodriguez was in the observation deck with her best friend, Zixar, when the alarm started. The young Altarian's skin changed to deep blue, a sign of fear in his species. What's happening? Zixar asked, his voice producing the musical tones of his people. I don't know, Emma replied, putting her arm around her friend's shoulders. But we need to get to the evacuation points. As they ran through the corridors, Emma saw something that would haunt her dreams forever. Through the station's main viewing port, she could see alien ships approaching. They were huge and dark, bristling with weapons that glowed like angry stars. The first Valthic boarding pods hit the station's hull with tremendous force. Security personnel who had never faced anything more dangerous than a lost tourist found themselves confronting 7-foot-tall armored warriors. The humans fought bravely, but they were peacekeepers facing beings bred for war. Commander Phillips coordinated the evacuation from the command center, watching helplessly as his beautiful station was overrun. Get the children out first. Ordered all adult crew, cover the evacuation routes. The Veilfic warriors moved through the station with ruthless efficiency. They separated human children from alien ones, loading the humans onto transport ships while leaving their alien friends behind. Emma Rodriguez found herself grabbed by massive clawed hands and dragged away from Zixar. Emma! The young Altarian cried out, reaching toward his human friend. Zix! Emma screamed back, struggling against her captors. I'll find you! I promise. I'll find you. Dr. Kate Sullivan tried to interfere with the separation process and was knocked unconscious by a Valthic warrior. Commander Phillips watched 200 human children disappear into alien custody, including Emma Rodriguez and dozens of others he had watched grow up aboard the Harmony. Ambassador Collins received the devastating news. They've taken our children, Alex Turner reported, his voice breaking. 200 human kids from Haven Station Omega 7. Peter Collins had spent his entire career solving problems with words. He had negotiated trade agreements, resolved territorial disputes, and helped dozens of species find common ground. But as he watched the Veil-thick fleet retreat with stolen human children, he realized that some problems could not be solved with diplomacy. Dr. Lisa Parker stared at the biological data from the aliens, her scientific mind working furiously. These beings were not just aggressive by nature, they were engineered for conquest. Every aspect of their biology pointed toward a species that viewed other life forms as either resources to be exploited or threats to be eliminated. "Peter," she said quietly, "I don't think they're going to negotiate. This isn't a misunderstanding or a cultural difference. They see our diversity as a disease that needs to be cured." Ambassador Collins activated the emergency communication channel to Earth. Priority message to the Human Council. "We have a situation unlike anything we've faced before. An alien empire has declared war on our way of life and taken our children as prisoners. We need help. We need it now." As the message traveled toward Earth at faster than light speed, the Veil-thick fleet disappeared into the darkness between stars, carrying 200 human children toward an uncertain fate. For the first time in 3,000 years, humanity faced an enemy that could not be reasoned with, negotiated with, or convinced to choose peace. The long peace was over. The news of the kidnapped children spread across human space faster than wildfire. Within 6 hours, every human world, station, and colony knew what had happened at Haven Station Omega 7. The reaction was unlike anything seen in 3 millennia. Of recorded human history. Captain Jake Morrison watched his crew transform before his eyes. Dr. Lisa Parker, who had spent her career gently studying alien life forms, now hunched over her workstation with frightening intensity. Her research had shifted from understanding alien biology to finding ways to hurt it. "I've been analyzing the Veil-thick genetic structure," Lisa reported, her voice cold as space ice. "They've modified themselves extensively, but that means they have weaknesses we can exploit. Give me 2 weeks and I can design biological weapons that will target their specific DNA sequences." Jake stared at his gentle, peaceful scientist. 3 days ago, Lisa had been excited about discovering a new type of flower on an unexplored world. Now she was calmly discussing biological warfare as if it were routine ship maintenance. Lieutenant Alex Turner had undergone a similar change. The young man who had never heard anything worse than harsh words was now intercepting enemy communications with deadly focus. "Captain, I've broken their basic encryption. They're calling us soft flesh and discussing how to divide our children among their breeding programs." Something cold and terrible settled in Jake's chest. Breeding programs? They had not just taken human children as prisoners. They had taken them as livestock on Earth. President Maria Santos stood before the Human Council in an emergency session. The chamber that had spent 3,000 years discussing trade agreements and cultural exchanges now buzzed with words that had not been spoken in centuries. War, weapons and military action. "Members of the Council," President Santos began, "we face a crisis that challenges everything we have built. An aggressive empire has stolen our children and declared our way of life an abomination. They cannot be reasoned with. They will not negotiate. They have given us only one choice." Admiral Nathan Cross stepped forward, carrying a sealed briefcase that had not been opened in 800 years. Nathan was the keeper of military history, a job that had been largely ceremonial until now. He was the only human alive who truly understood what humanity had been capable of before they chose peace. "Madam President," Nathan said formally, "I request permission to activate the Lazarus Protocol." A gasp went through the council chamber. The Lazarus Protocol was humanity's deepest secret. Hidden beneath Earth's major cities lay the dormant industrial complexes that had once built humanity's war machine. Shipyards capable of producing vessels that could crack planets. Factories that could manufacture weapons beyond the imagination of peaceful species. Research facilities where humanity's greatest minds had once turned their genius toward destruction. "The cost will be enormous," President Santos said quietly. Once we wake the war machine, we cannot put it back to sleep. We will never be the same people we were yesterday. Council member Robert Hayes stood up from his seat. Robert's own daughter attended Haven Station Gamma 3, and the thought of her being taken by aliens made his hands shake with rage. Madam President, they have our children, our babies. There's no cost too high to bring them home. The vote was unanimous. For the first time in 3,000 years, humanity chose war across human space. Changes began almost immediately. The same genetic modifications that had made humans naturally peaceful over millennia of evolution now worked in reverse. Stress. Hormones triggered dormant aggressive traits. Intelligence that had been focused on cooperation now turned toward conflict. Dr. Kate Sullivan had escaped the destruction of Haven Station Omega-7 with critical intelligence about Valthic locations and weaknesses. She arrived on Earth aboard a refugee transport, her gentle researcher's demeanor replaced by something harder and more focused. They're holding the children on fortress worlds in their home territory, Kate reported to the emergency military council, but they don't understand human psychology. They think taking our young will make us submit. They have no idea what they've awakened. Admiral Cross activated ancient computer systems buried deep beneath Earth's surface. Holographic displays showed ship designs that had never been built, weapons that had never been tested, and strategies that had been theoretical for thousands of years. Human military science had not stood still during the peace years. It had simply been sleeping. We'll need approximately 6 months to build a fleet capable of challenging the Valthic Empire, Admiral Cross reported. But we have advantages they don't know about. Our technology has advanced continuously during the peace. We've just been using it for exploration instead of destruction. Captain Morrison received new orders to report to Earth's primary shipyard. When he arrived, he could hardly believe what he saw. The peaceful orbital construction facilities were transforming themselves into something from humanity's darkest past. Assembly lines that had built research vessels now constructed ships designed for one purpose: killing. The UE's retribution took shape in the main construction bay. She was twice the size of the old Harmony, but built around principles of war rather than peace. Her hull could withstand direct hits from planet-cracking weapons. Her engines could push her faster than anything in known space. Her weapons could reduce entire fleets to molecular dust. Dr. Lisa Parker stood in her new laboratory. Aboard the Retribution, surrounded by equipment she had never imagined using. The same brilliant mind that had spent years learning how to heal alien diseases now focused on creating ones that would kill. Her research into Valthic biology had revealed weaknesses that could be exploited with terrifying efficiency. I understand. Their immune system now, Lisa reported to Admiral Cross. They've made themselves resistant to most biological weapons, but they have blind spots. I can create targeted viruses that will affect only them. Meanwhile, in the Valthic prison ships, Emma Rodriguez had not been idle. The 16-year-old girl who had grown up learning alongside dozens of alien species now used that knowledge to organize resistance among the captured children. She taught human kids how to communicate in Altarian light language to avoid Valthic surveillance. She showed them Zentari meditation techniques to stay calm under stress. Listen to me, Emma whispered to the other human children during a brief moment when their guards were distracted. They think we're weak because we're young and because we learn to be peaceful. They don't know that peaceful doesn't mean helpless. The captured children began small acts of sabotage. They broke equipment, corrupted computer systems, and spread false information among their captors. Emma had learned enough about Valthic technology during their transport to find weaknesses in their security systems. We're not just prisoners, she told her fellow captives. We're an army behind enemy lines. And when our parents come for us, we'll be ready to help. Back on Earth, the transformation of human society continued at an unprecedented pace. Scientists, who had spent their careers studying star formation, now designed stellar weapons. Engineers who had built peaceful space habitats now constructed orbital battle stations. Artists and musicians created propaganda that stirred emotions humanity had forgotten they possessed. The Galactic Cooperative Council watched in amazement. As their peaceful human allies underwent their metamorphosis, Council leader Tisara of the Zentari sent an urgent message to President Santos. "We offer our full support," the message read, "but we must ask, are you certain you can control what you are becoming? The humans we have known for millennia were gentle, wise, and patient. What we see now frightens us." President Santos read the message and felt a moment of doubt. Was humanity losing its soul in the process of saving its children? But then she thought of Emma Rodriguez and the other young prisoners, and her resolve hardened. "Tell the Council," she instructed her aide, "that we will do whatever is necessary to bring our children home. If that means becoming monsters, then we will be the most effective monsters the galaxy has ever seen." The final component of humanity's awakening came when Admiral Cross unsealed the deepest vault beneath Earth's surface. Inside, protected by layers of security that had not been breached in 3,000 years, lay the crown jewel of human military science, the Guardian Archive. Every weapon humanity had ever conceived, every strategy they had ever developed, every lesson learned from countless wars throughout their history. The peaceful humans of the 51st century were about to rediscover why their ancestors had been the most feared warriors in their galaxy's history. The Veilthic Empire had made a fatal mistake. They had awakened something that should have been left sleeping. 6 months after the kidnapping of the children, human space had become unrecognizable. Across 200 worlds, the machinery of war had awakened from its 3,000-year slumber. Ancient shipyards buried beneath peaceful cities now thundered with activity as the human defense fleet took shape. Admiral Nathan Cross stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution, humanity's new flagship. The ship was a masterpiece of controlled destruction, incorporating 30 centuries of peaceful technological advancement into the deadliest weapon ever conceived by human minds. Her quantum engines could fold space itself, allowing her to appear anywhere in the galaxy within hours. Her neural-linked weapon systems could track and destroy 1,000 targets simultaneously. "Fleet status report," Admiral Cross ordered. Captain Jake Morrison, now serving as Fleet Tactical Coordinator, consulted his displays. The peaceful explorer had transformed into something harder and more focused during the past months. "We have 200 ships ready for deployment, Admiral. Each one is equipped with weapons that would have been impossible to build during our warrior past." Dr. Lisa Parker appeared on the communication screen from her mobile laboratory ship. The gentle xenobiologist had become humanity's leading expert in biological warfare. Her brilliant mind now focused entirely on finding ways to neutralize Veilthic threats. "I've completed the targeting virus, Admiral. It will affect only Veilthic physiology, leaving other species completely unharmed." Admiral Cross nodded grimly. The transformation of Dr. Parker troubled him more than he cared to admit. The woman who had once dedicated her life to preserving alien species now designed weapons to destroy them. But the children were still prisoners. And that fact overrode all other concerns. Lieutenant Alex Turner monitored Veilthic communications from his enhanced surveillance station. The young man had become frighteningly good at intercepting enemy transmissions and breaking their encryption codes. "Sir, I've located the primary prison facility. The children are being held on Kethmoros, the Veilthic fortress world." "What are the defenses?" Admiral Cross asked. Alex's face grew pale as he read the intelligence reports. "Kethmoros is surrounded by their entire battle fleet. 2,000 ships, Admiral. We're outnumbered 10 to 1. For a moment, silence filled the bridge. Even with their advanced technology and superior tactics, facing odds of 10 to 1 seemed impossible. But Admiral Cross had studied humanities, military history, and he knew that impossible odds had never stopped humans before. "Tactical analysis suggests we cannot win through conventional assault," Captain Morrison reported. "But I've been studying Veilthic psychology. They view their children as valuable breeding stock and strategic resources. They cannot understand why we would sacrifice everything for emotional attachments to young ones." Admiral Cross smiled grimly. "Then we'll use their blindness against them. Prepare the children's gambit." The children's gambit was a strategy that could only work for humanity. It required a level of sacrifice for the young that other species simply could not comprehend. Human ships would deliberately accept massive damage and casualties to create openings for rescue vessels. Parents would die to save children they had never met. Because those children were human. President Maria Santos addressed the fleet from Earth via quantum communication. Soldiers of humanity, you are about to attempt something that every other species in the galaxy considers impossible. You will face superior numbers, superior firepower, and superior defenses. But you have something the enemy cannot understand. You fight not for territory or resources or glory. You fight for children. Across the fleet, humans who had spent their entire lives in peace prepared for war. Engineers who had built space stations designed gravity bombs. Teachers who had educated young minds now calculated firing solutions for planet-killing weapons. Artists who had created beauty for 3 millennia now painted nose art on ships designed for destruction, the U's Harmony. Jake Morrison's old exploration vessel had been converted into an assault ship. Her cargo holds that once carried gifts, and seeds now house boarding pods and combat troops. Her communication arrays that had welcomed new species now jammed enemy signals. Captain Morrison looked at his transformed ship with mixed emotions. "She's not the same vessel we fell in love with," Dr. Parker observed, joining Morrison on the observation deck. "None of us are the same people we were 6 months ago," Morrison replied. "The question is, will we be able to find our way back to who we were after this is over?" The fleet departed Earth space in perfect formation, 200 ships moving like a single organism. Behind them, they left a humanity that had fundamentally changed. The peaceful civilization that had existed for 3,000 years was gone, replaced by something harder and more dangerous on Kethmaros. Emma Rodriguez continued her resistance activities among the captured children. The prison complex was a massive facility built into the side of a mountain, designed to hold thousands of young beings from dozens of species. The Veilthic used the children as both hostages and experimental subjects studying different species, to find weaknesses that could be exploited. "Emma, the guards are getting suspicious," whispered Danny Parker, a 12-year-old boy from Haven Station Beta 4. "They know someone has been sabotaging their equipment." Emma smiled with confidence. Beyond her years, let them be suspicious. Our parents are coming for us, and when they arrive, we need to be ready to help. She had managed to establish communication with some of the alien children in other sections of the prison. Young Altarians, Zentari, and crystalline beings who had been captured along with the humans. Emma realized that their rescue could not succeed if they only saved human children and left the others behind. "Listen carefully," she told the group of human kids who had become her unofficial army. "When the attack comes, we don't just save ourselves. We save everyone. That's what humans do. That's what makes us different." War Prime Nethyscall received reports of human fleet movements with satisfaction. The soft species was finally showing some fight, but they were hopelessly outnumbered. His fortress world was protected by the finest defensive systems in the galaxy. His fleet could destroy attacking forces before they even entered the system. "Let them come," he told his military advisors. "When we crush their pathetic rescue attempt, they will finally understand that their way of life is obsolete. The galaxy belongs to the strong." But Nethyscall had made a critical error in judgment. He understood strength and weakness, but he had never encountered a species that drew strength from protecting others. He could not comprehend beings who would willingly die to save children they had never met. The human defense fleet approached the Kethmaros system in attack formation. Admiral Cross knew that many of his ships would not survive the battle. He knew that thousands of humans would die in the next few hours. But he also knew that those deaths would have meaning if they brought the children home. "All ships, this is Admiral Cross," he broadcast to the fleet. "We are about to face the largest military engagement in galactic history. The odds are against us. The enemy is stronger. But we have something they don't understand. We fight for love. For family. For the future of every child in the galaxy." Captain Morrison prepared the Harmony for her final mission. The ship that had explored strange new worlds for decades would not survive this battle, but her sacrifice would create an opening for the rescue shuttles. Dr. Parker activated her biological weapons with hands that no longer trembled. The gentle scientist had become an angel of death, but she would carry that burden if it meant bringing human children home. Lieutenant Turner opened communication channels to coordinate the attack. The young man who had grown up in peace now orchestrated humanity's return to war. The Battle of Kathmaros was about to begin, and with it, the galaxy would learn why humans had spent 3,000 years choosing to be peaceful. The Battle of Kathmaros began at dawn on the Fortress world, though dawn was merely an artificial concept in the endless night of space. Admiral Nathan Cross watched 2,000 Veilthic ships arrange themselves in defensive formations around their fortress world, confident in their overwhelming numerical superiority. "All ships, execute Children's Gambit Protocol," Admiral Cross ordered. "Remember, we don't need to win this battle. We only need to get our children home." The human defense fleet split into 3 attack groups, each moving with precision that spoke of months of desperate preparation. The first group, led by Captain Jake Morrison aboard the converted Hughes Harmony, charged directly at the center of the Veilthic defensive line. Their mission was simple and terrible: die in such a spectacular way that every enemy gun would focus on them. "Harmony to fleet," Morrison broadcast as his ship accelerated towards certain destruction. "It has been an honor to serve with you all. Take care of our children." Dr. Lisa Parker activated her biological weapons from the mobile laboratory ship, launching specially designed viral containers toward the Veilthic fleet. Her gentle hands that had once healed alien diseases now delivered death with scientific precision. The targeting virus began spreading through enemy ships, affecting only Veilthic physiology while leaving other species completely unharmed. The Harmony struck the lead, Veilthic dreadnought like a meteor, her reinforced hull cutting deep into the enemy vessel before both ships exploded in a fireball visible from the planet's surface. But Morrison's sacrifice had created exactly the opening Admiral Cross needed. While enemy forces focused on the spectacular destruction, human rescue shuttles slipped through the gaps in their defensive line. Lieutenant Alex Turner coordinated the rescue mission from his command ship, his young voice steady despite the chaos surrounding them. "Rescue teams, you have a 15-minute window. Make it count." On Kathmaros, Emma Rodriguez felt the ground shake as the battle raged overhead. She had been waiting for this moment for 6 months, preparing the other children for their role in their own rescue. When the prison alarms began screaming, she knew it was time. "Everyone stick to the plan," Emma shouted over the noise. "We help the rescue teams find us, and we don't leave anyone behind." The Veilthic guards were in chaos as Dr. Parker's biological weapons began taking effect throughout their fleet. The virus she had designed attacked their modified physiology with devastating efficiency, leaving enemy ships dead in space as their crews succumbed to genetically targeted illness. How is this possible? War Prime Nethyscall demanded as reports flooded his command center. "They are peaceful explorers. They have no weapons." His science officers' reply chilled him to his 4-chambered heart. "Sir, they turn their medical knowledge into biological warfare. They understand our genetic modifications better than we do ourselves." Admiral Cross led the second attack group in a direct assault on the orbital defense platforms surrounding Kathmaros. The UES retributions. Advanced weapon systems proved devastatingly effective against Veilthic technology. Quantum torpedo strikes collapsed entire defense stations into microscopic black holes, clearing paths for the rescue shuttles, but the cost was enormous. For every Veilthic ship destroyed, humanity lost vessels and crews. The peaceful explorers, who had never known war, were learning its price in blood and sacrifice. Ships that had carried families to new worlds now carried soldiers to their deaths. Dr. Kate Sullivan led the ground assault on the prison complex, having volunteered for the most dangerous part of the mission. The researcher who had spent her career studying how children learn together now fought her way through corridors designed to hold those same children prisoner. "Rescue Team Alpha to all units," Kate broadcast as her soldiers advanced through The prison complex. We've found the main detention areas. Beginning extraction of all prisoners. Emma Rodriguez heard human voices shouting orders in the corridors outside her cell and felt tears of joy streaming down her face. But when the cell doors opened, she was ready with her own set of orders. You have to get the alien children too, she told the rescue soldiers firmly. There are young Altarians, Centauri, and crystalline beings in the other wings. We don't leave anyone behind. The soldiers looked confused for a moment. Their mission briefing had focused on rescuing human children, but Emma Rodriguez was not, giving them a choice. Those alien kids are just as innocent as we are, she insisted. If we abandon them, then we're no better than the Veilthic. That's not what humans do. Kate Sullivan received Emma's message and made a command decision that would define the rest of the battle. All rescue teams, expand your mission parameters. We extract every child in this facility, regardless of species. The rescue became more complex and dangerous, but the human soldiers adapted with the same flexibility their species had always shown. They fought their way through additional prison wings, carrying young aliens alongside human children toward the waiting shuttles, War Prime. Nethyscall realized that his supposedly overwhelming advantage was crumbling. Human tactics made no sense according to traditional military doctrine. They accepted impossible casualties to protect non-combatants. They diverted resources to save enemy civilians. They treated their own lives as expendable while considering the lives of young ones as sacred. Order all remaining ships to target the prison complex, Nethyscall commanded in desperation. If we cannot keep the prisoners, we will ensure the humans gain nothing from their sacrifice. But Admiral Cross had anticipated this final act of spite. The third attack group, held in reserve throughout the battle, now revealed itself. 50 human ships emerged from behind Kethmero's largest moon, moving in perfect formation toward the planet's surface. This is Admiral Cross to the Veilthic commander, he broadcast on all frequencies. If you fire on that prison complex, we will demonstrate why humans spent 3,000 years choosing to be peaceful. Nethyscall hesitated, confused by the threat. What could peaceful explorers do that their current assault had not already accomplished? His answer came in the form of gravitational weapons that could crack planets. The same technology humans had used to build space elevators and terraform worlds, now focused on Kethmero's orbital mechanics. With surgical precision, human ships began destabilizing the planet's rotation. You have 60 seconds to stand down, Admiral Cross announced calmly. After that, your fortress world becomes an asteroid field. The rescue shuttles lifted off from Kethmero's, carrying their precious cargo. Emma Rodriguez found herself seated next to her Altarian friend Zixar, who had been rescued from a different prison complex on the same world. I told you I would find you, Emma said, hugging her alien friend tightly. Humans keep their promises, Zixar replied in his musical voice. That is why other species trust you. War Prime Nethyscall faced a choice between surrender and the destruction of his people's most important military base. The humans had proven they possessed both the capability and the will to destroy entire worlds if their children were threatened. Stand down all weapons, he ordered reluctantly. Allow the rescue ships to depart. The Battle of Kethmero's ended with the successful extraction of all imprisoned children, human and alien alike. But the cost had been terrible. 40% of the human defense fleet had been destroyed, including the Use Harmony and thousands of brave souls who had chosen to die rather than abandon. Their young Admiral Cross stood on the bridge of the damaged Retribution as the rescue fleet departed Veilthic space. Around him, the crew worked to repair battle damage while monitoring for pursuit that never came. The Veilthic Empire had learned a lesson about humanity that they would never forget, Dr. Lisa Parker destroyed her biological weapons and research notes, ensuring that the terrible knowledge she had gained would die with her. She had created instruments of death to save innocent lives, but she would not allow such weapons to exist after the crisis had passed. President Maria Santos addressed the human species from Earth as the rescue fleet returned home. Today we learned that peace is not weakness and gentleness is not helplessness. We learned that the most dangerous species in the galaxy might be one that chooses peace but retains the capacity for war. The rescued children became symbols of what humanity would fight to protect. Emma Rodriguez, now 17 years old, addressed the Galactic Cooperative Council 6 months later. "You may think we had 3,000 years of peace," she said, her young voice carrying the weight of experience far beyond her years. "But we have 300,000 years of evolution. We chose to be gentle because we understood the alternative. Touch our young again and learn why that choice was wisdom." The human defense fleet did not disband after the battle. Instead, it took position at the galaxy's edge, a permanent reminder that humanity's peaceful nature was protected by the promise of swift and terrible retribution for those who would harm the innocent. The Veilthic Empire retreated to their home systems and never again ventured into civilized space. They had encountered something they could not understand or defeat, a species that drew strength from protecting others, even at the cost of their own lives. In the haven stations that were rebuilt across human space, children of all species continued to learn and play together.